2 races left, today and next week, and we will be done with the VTuber Racing 2024 season. And a lot of questions still left unanswered heading into the final race of the season, which would be Las Vegas next Saturday. Today, these 37 VTubers take the North Carolina Speedway, also known as Rockingham, for a 335-lap test spin to determine which competitors out of those said 37 are going to compete for the championship next week at Las Vegas. After 28 races of the season, we are officially down to 5 drivers battling for this championship. Bell, Starlight, Overdrive, Mouse, and Merriweather all have a mathematical shot to win the championship in the next 2 weeks. The question will be, can any of these 5 stay in it next week? Because there's a possibility that one of those 5 drivers will be mathematically eliminated. It is possible that 2 drivers can be mathematically eliminated. There's a possibility that all 4 other drivers in the top 5 of the standings could be locked out of the championship, and Bell could lock it up 1 week early. Today, depending on how number 69 does today, they could win the championship if, by some chance, they finish 18 spots ahead of Starlight, or win the race, and Starlight finishes a couple, and by a couple I mean 15-ish positions behind. And the same could be said if they finish 10 spots ahead of Overdrive, and just basically not allow Iron Mouse to be in front of Bell by that many points. Listen, there's a couple of different ways that Bell could lock up the championship, but the main thing is that they would have to at least be inside the top 5, if not win the race, and Starlight and Overdrive have themselves a not-so-good day themselves and finish behind Bell by multiple positions. It's unlikely that Bell will lock up the championship, but it is still a possibility. Now, I mentioned the top 5 in points are battling for the championship. That is because 6th place of Noriboshi on down, they're mathematically eliminated. They could no longer battle for the championship. They might still be able to actually get inside the top 5 in the points. However, they are no longer able to climb much higher than that. They can only really get up to 3rd at best still, and that'd be that. They can't win the championship. 6th place on down cannot win the championship, even if by some miracle the final 5 drivers, like from 32nd on down to 37th in today's final results, if that somehow were to have been Bell through Merriweather and Noriboshi won the race, still wouldn't be able to really make it, just wouldn't be able to take the championship away, but would be able to probably get either 3rd, maybe 2nd at best, but that's about it. Listen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're only down to 5 cars battling for the championship. And if anybody coming out of today's race is more than 40 points behind the championship leader, they are effectively eliminated mathematically from the championship as well. So, today's going to be a day we're going to be looking at 5 drivers, mainly. We're going to keep our eyes on Bell to see how well they end up doing. If Starlight has a pretty good finish, they will at the very least have a shot to win the championship at Las Vegas, but it is still a long shot. All Bell needs right now today is a solid finish. They don't have to be inside the top 10. They don't even necessarily need to be close to the top 10, but they do need to finish around where the 24 is. If Bell can finish just slightly ahead or slightly behind, not too far, not too far back from Starlight in the 24, they will have actually a pretty solid chance of winning the championship regardless of how they finish today. Because Starlight's only 22 points back. It doesn't seem like a lot. It does not seem like a lot, but it is. That's more than half of a race. So Bell only has to have a solid finish here today, but if they don't and Starlight finishes ahead of them, Starlight has a much easier shot at Las Vegas to win the championship. Even so, it's still going to make it easier, even if Starlight doesn't finish that far ahead. Maybe lead a couple laps as well. That'll definitely ease the pain, ease the stress, we'll say, a little bit more. For Overdrive, and Iron Mouse, and Merryweather, the task is simple. Finish ahead of Bell. Any spots they finish above Bell inches them closer and closer to the championship. They could also try and finish above Starlight, because at the same time too, Overdrive is 10, almost 10 points behind Starlight. Overdrive needs to at least give them an opportunity for them to at least be in distance of Starlight. But the gap to second and third is a little bit manageable, more manageable, compared to first and second. For Iron Mouse and Merryweather, today they have to finish ahead of Bell. They have to finish ahead of both the top two, and they have to make sure they do it quickly. And they have to at least finish inside the top 10, maybe top 5 today. Last week at Indianapolis was not the race that Iron Mouse should have had, nor Merryweather. Both of those drivers got involved in wrecks, and Iron Mouse ended up finishing 36th out of what should have been a solid day, considering they were up front for a majority of that said race. If Iron Mouse does not come within 40 points of the championship lead, Indianapolis was their death nail, because they had an opportunity to not only finish inside the top 5, maybe they could have been the one and only driver to have gotten 4 wins on the season. They sit with the most amount of wins so far already, but they really needed a good top 5, top 10 last week at Indianapolis, and now it's more than ever do they need a good finish. They don't need to necessarily finish perfect, but they still need a top 10, top 5 finish here today. So we'll have to see whether or not that comes true. For Merryweather, it is a very big long shot that they end up within 40 points of whoever the championship leader is heading into Las Vegas. They need to finish 15 at least. At the very least, they need to finish 13 spots, 13 or 14 spots ahead of either Bell or Starlight. Preferably Bell, because they are the points leader at the moment. But Merryweather still needs to finish at the very least 13 or 14 spots ahead of Bell. And at the same time, they have to make sure they get at least 1 lap lead here today. There's 335 laps around here, so there's a lot of opportunities for those points to be given out. So, a lot of opportunities. 335 laps. We'll see what happens between now and then in the points. Qualifying for today's race goes as follows. Like I said, F1 style, from the back to the front. Fifi and Fruit share... Well, actually, it'd be Fifi by herself in 37th. Fruit and Risu will share the last full row with Kason, Bimmel, Tyroki, Henya, and Melody to round out the outside top 30. Entering the top 30, it's DM, Lumi, Watson, Philly, and Kobo. And then up inside the top half or the top 20 would be, or outside the top 20, I should say, Kobo, Hano, Mizuki, Bao, Didi, Weebu, and Lucky. Then we climb inside the top 20 with Nana, Fu, Gura, Dreamer, and Lumen. And then Doki Bird, Sprite, Callie, Merryweather, and David. Those drivers are outside the top 10 to start, but inside the top 10 would be David, Overdrive, Simu, Bell, William, Noriboshi, Soleil, Kyoso, and Starlight. A very stacked top 10 compared to, weeks prior. Merryweather is the worst out of the top 5 starters today, in terms of the top 5 in the standings, I should say. but they only start 11th, so that's saying something. The top 5 today are bringing their A game, hopefully, because all 5 drivers, with the exception of Merriweather, who sits at 11th, all 5 of them in the championship hunt, they are sitting inside the top 10 starting position. Like I said, this is the final race before the championship race down in Las Vegas, so it's going to be a wild ride here today, regardless of how the on-track performance shows. So with that out of the way, let me make sure I got everything set. Yes, we're all set. And let's head down trackside here, where we will have 335 laps of action. It will be a pretty long race. It will be a pretty long race because of how many laps there is. This and next week are practically a 100% race length race, with the exception of a couple laps being shaved off in this race. But it'll be a full length Las Vegas race next week. The 24 team right now, they just want to sit ahead of the 69 car heading into Las Vegas. Coming into today's race, they're sitting 22 points back. They don't need to make it all up here today, although that would help them out tremendously in the points. Right next to them in the outside row, the number 22 of Iron Mouse, they're looking to not really they don't want to be eliminated, and they have a chance to be eliminated here today if things don't go their way. With 335 laps around Rocky Camp Speedway underway here, our second to last race of the season. Starlight does get a good jump to start things off. What better way to start things off than to lead the first lap of the race, so you already get a bonus point, which would make things a lot easier for Starlight here today. So the first lap lead will go to Starlight. That'll immediately put them right into a good situation. There's also another bonus point for leading the most laps, but that one won't be necessarily something we can look at here early in this race. Now, I forgot to mention this in the pre-race, but there's also one other battle for the championship we are going to be looking at here. And that's the battle for the 100 points behind the championship lead mark. There's going to be several drivers battling for that spot, and the reason why I say that is because anybody under 100 points from the championship leader will automatically get a ride, I should say, into next year's season. And so far, there are 10 drivers. That's all the top 10 in points. And I talked about Noriboshi being 6th place in points. So far, they sit with an opportunity to have a better run next season. Side by side for the lead with 2 championship contenders. Overdrive as well is in this mix as well. 3 out of the top 5 in this standing so far sit with championship aspirations. 22 of Iron Mouse, 24 of Starlight, and the 12 of Overdrive inside the top 5. Noriboshi sits pretty close. 6th place, like I said, in points. Not really going to be able to be a champion, but still can take away a top 5 spot. And Bell has fallen outside the top 10, not by much. Still running around that mark. Clocked in 11th the last time by. Probably going to be either 12th or 13th, depending on how things go. Iron Mouse continues to lead. A lot of single file inside the top 5. Lumen looked to make a move underneath Overdrive for the 4th spot. Heading into turn number 1, that did not look to be that way. That's the top 5 at the moment. Then you got Sprite at 6th, William at 7th. Already a little bit of damage to the side there. Doggy Bird at 8th, and 9th goes to Kyoso, and round out the top 10 is Cali. And that's how the top 10 runs after 7 laps, but still, like I said, way too much time left in this race. So already 10 laps, not even 10 laps into this race, and we've had 2 drivers looking for the championship up front in the lead with a bonus point for leading a lap. It doesn't sound like much because it's only 1 point. But we've seen some dramatic swings in the championship standings. That was close. Noriboshi got really loose. I had to stop my thought for a second. But we've seen some really close battles for a championship spot. Not necessarily for the championship, but I mean, we look at the fact that second and third place are separated by 10 points. There are many drivers outside the top 5 that are battling within 10 spots of each, or yeah, basically 10 spots of each other, which is also 10 points. When you lead a lap, you essentially jump a spot. Now, granted, one of these top 5 drivers has to win this race here today. They have to, because that also gives off an extra 3 points for winning a race. So while you do want to lead a lap, you really want to win this race if you want to be in championship contention at Las Vegas next week. But the last couple of races, they have been anything but a championship contender winning the race. It's really been a class of the field for anybody that's not inside the top 5 in the points. The deal about it right now is that we got 3 drivers inside the top 3. All inside the top 10 in the points. One of these 3 would definitely be, it would definitely jump them up tremendously if they end up winning this race. But I talked about how dominant Iron Mouse was last week at Indianapolis, and then she ended up getting taken out in a wreck that also involved Merriweather, who was another championship contender. But Iron Mouse has fallen back, and now that gives the lead to Noriboshi. And Overdrive, who sits 3rd in the points coming into today's race, looking to also get themselves a bonus point for leading. If that were to happen here within the next couple laps, then it would only be Merriweather and Bell, the only 2 drivers inside the top 5 in points that have not led a lap so far in today's race. And we are only 16 laps into this race. It was an early quest by basically everybody inside the top 5 in points to lead a lap. And now ever since that has happened, several have fallen back. Iron Mouse falls outside the top 10. Starlight outside the top 10 at the moment, but did gain a couple spots there that last lap to put him back in it. Puts him in 8th place at the moment. And Bell currently sits in the middle of all this. Back in the, I think, 15th spot. Yes, exactly 15th last time by. Well, with how long this race is, we are going to see a lot of drivers coming from the back to the front and from the front to the back. And that has been the quota basically all season long. I mean, let's take a look at the fact that Risu, we looked at the qualifying results. Risu shared the last row with Fruit. And in just 18, 19 short laps, they've climbed all the way up to the, I would say, inside the top 15. Easily. 20 laps into this run. And somebody from 36th and 35th place, at least where they started, they've climbed up all the way to about halfway through this field. Overdrive, I think, is running a little bit slower lap times compared to Noriboshi, but still trying their best to get that lap led. They really want to lead a lap here early on because, again, it does help you out if you don't have a good finish. It does give you a little bit of a parachute. I say a little bit. It's not a lot. But it does help you in case you don't finish well. But if you do finish well, then it's absolutely a steal and a half, especially if you finish ahead of a bunch of other drivers that haven't led as well. basically nose to tail for the race lead still. Overdrive is trying their best to find somewhere that Noriboshi is not good at. Take advantage of it. Battle for 4th. Here comes Soleil underneath Doki Bird in turn 1. Down the backstretch, it looks like Soleil's going to get the run in the corner. And clears, and that's also going to help Starlight come back into the top 5. Climbs up to 4th. Overdrive once again, peeks to the inside for the lead, but can Noriboshi block it? Yes, she can. Just like Indianapolis last week, that inside line is going to be mostly the preferred line. Unless you do screw up a little bit, in which case that highlight can take advantage. Overdrive to the race lead. Good slingshot into 3. So now we've had 3 out of the top 5 in standings lead a lap here today already. 23 laps in the books. So that just shows how quickly... Actually, we got... Is that Bell? Bell actually is off pit road. An issue early on for the points leader. Look like they just came out of the pits. So an issue early on for Bell. That's not good. They were sitting outside the top 10 all day, but it looks like a problem for the 69. It's definitely not strategy. That's not exactly what the 69 needs. And it's still early in the race. They could probably come back if they get a quick caution. I don't think they're a lap down. Maybe they are. Oh yeah, they already are 1 lap down. Okay, never mind. Yeah, already they're 1 lap down. They're about to be 2 if Overdrive or Soleil gets up to them. Still running fast laps, so it does look like if it was a mechanical problem, they got it fixed up. So 26 laps into this race, and we already have championship problems. And this time it's for the championship leader as Soleil goes for the race lead. And Soleil's not battling for the championship, but definitely in contention for a top 5. Maybe top 10, or actually no, they will get a top 10 in the championship if they continue this little momentum streak they've had ever since winning at Sonoma a couple weeks back. They're looking for their 2nd win of the season, which would definitely put them in contention for a ride for next season. I keep mentioning about next season, we are expanding to 40 race cars on track instead of 37, so there is opportunities coming across. There'll be more opportunities, and the points will be a little bit different, not by much, because we're adding 3 cars. The separation between first and last will be 3 points more. So instead of 40 points separating basically first place to last place, without bonus points being added, it'll be 43 points. Again, without bonus points being added. Soleil has a race lead for the moment, leading a couple laps, but Starlight right behind them. Now, again, this is prime opportunity for anybody inside the top 5 of the championship standings. They would like to see this the struggle of the 69 continue for basically this entire race. Starlight goes back to the race lead. Overdrive fell back way deep in the top 10. They were leading a couple laps ago. Now they sit 9th. Right now, this is the best opportunity possible for everybody inside the championship hunt. Right now, the championship leader is dead last right now. Begging for a caution. Just begging for a caution to come out. So they can get back on the lead lap. Could be an early strategy call by Bell, trying to maybe short pit. Play the long, well, not maybe short pit, but maybe get the long game going to where they could get a caution. Maybe get a caution real quick, get back on the lead lap. I don't know. That strategy would work if they were already on the lead lap. and if they were tail end of the lead lap at this moment, but they're not. So I don't think it was a strategy call whatsoever, because if it was a strategy call, they would have at least tried to get him back out there before they go a one lap down. Once again, for the race lead, Soleil's taking it away from Starlight, and Starlight's fallen back a little bit outside the top 5 now, but nothing panic-inducing for the moment. I mean, honestly, at this point, I mean, right now, a lot of stress has been taken off a lot of the top 5, or everybody outside the championship leader. Norboshi and Williams, 2nd and 3rd. They're battling nose to tail. Fillion in 4th and Bao up to 5th. So, a lot of drivers that we saw starting in the rear of the field started to climb up to inside the top 10. As I mentioned, I mean, the split between 1st and 2nd in the championship points was 22. If that shrinkens, especially if Starlight leaves today, because she does have a chance, Starlight does have a chance to take the championship lead away. Heading into Las Vegas, which would be absolutely insane, making up 22 points in one race. But we've seen it happen before. It might happen again today. Billion moves up to 3rd. Just behind those two, Callie moves up a spot, taking it away from Bao. That's for the 5th spot. And now William falls outside the top 5. I don't know where William got that side damage. There is some side damage to that 10 car, especially on that left side. That's, I guess, if you're trading paint with another driver, that does tend to happen. But less than 40 laps into this run, and there's paint being traded. I'm a little concerned for when this race goes to 40 laps to go. I don't know what the aggression level is going to be like by then. Clean first 40 laps so far in today's race, outside of William trading paint with somebody. And for the most part, I would say as well, very clean, with the exception of Bell having some sort of problem. David, who we saw start inside the top 10, he's fallen all the way back to the 30s. His car is just not handling right now. We saw Ironmouse start outside of row 1, currently sitting 18th. Overdrive, who led several laps early on, 13th. Merriweather currently sits in 9th place, and they still haven't led a lap. Neither has Bell, but Bell has probably the least likely chance of leading a lap in this race, considering he's 1 lap down in 37th. Villian moves up to 2nd now. The thing about turn 3, what I've realized is that a lot of drivers aren't trying to battle that hard on that outside line. In turn 1, they're putting up a little bit more of a fight, but once they get into turn 3, they're giving it up real quick. But a lot of drivers are also exploring that middle groove, sliding up a little bit, about half a lane to a lane completely. Try and see if they can get a good run off of turn 4. Single file through most of the top 10. Battle for the first battle, side-by-side battle, would have been between Bao and Merriweather, but I think Bao is going to be able to take away that 9th spot. Still very tight for the race lead here. And while Soleil cannot win the championship, they can still get a good finish in the standings. They could probably take away a top 5 spot, depending on how today goes. But then again, the split between 5th and 6th place is more than 30 points, so it's very unlikely today will be the day that a lot of positions will be changed between 5th and 6th and 7th place and all that. Like I said last week at Indianapolis, Merriweather and Ironmouse practically have that top 5 nailed down for them in the standings. as well as Overdrive and Starlight and Bell, who are the top 3, but it really depends on how this race develops. I mean, we've already seen a pretty interesting development, a major development for championship hope for the championship. Of all drivers to have issues, that's the one driver I expected the least. English is not my first language, but it also is my first language. But you can't tell because I can't speak it very well. Callie up to 3rd. Lumen actually up to 4th now, as well as Fu. A couple drivers that we haven't really talked about much at all in the first 48 laps are now inside the top 5. Fillion's been right on the rear bumper of Soleil this entire race. This entire battle, ever since Fillion took away that 2nd spot. I don't know if Fillion has the faster car or not. Looks like they're going to try and make a move down the inside. But they did get a little squirrely on the exit of 4 right there, so that's going to cost them a little bit of momentum. Bit of a gap bit of a big gap outside of this top 5. Top 5 are all bunched together, similar to how Indy was last week. Soleil continuing to lead. They're also looking to try and maybe see if they can lead the most amount of laps early in this race, so they can also get a bonus point then. It wouldn't help them for championship aspirations, but they are looking at this point to get less than 100 points from the champion after next week, and they will get an opportunity to race for a championship next season. Now William, they're also out on, they were also a driver that came into the pits. I think that's why we saw a little bit of a split there, because William was run inside the top 10. And now William currently sits in 37th spot, 1 lap down. Maybe an early stop for the 10 car. Fabian looks to the inside of Soleil. Can't make the pass happen here, but probably might be able to going down the backstretch. Now with William, I don't know if they are making a strategy call or not. They are definitely going to be running almost a full second quicker than everybody else. I say almost, it'll be a little less than that, but it depends on when everybody else decides to pit. We saw Bell pitting way earlier than William, but I don't think that was strategy. I think that was an actual problem for the 69. With William, I don't know if it was a problem or if they were really wanting to go on a short pitting spree, because a lot of drivers have been doing that the last couple of weeks. For the most part, it does not work. It gets you some satisfaction, but not for too long, especially once everybody else pits. So currently all 37 cars, actually, well, now it's Overdrive that it looks, okay, so it looks like there might be a couple drivers exploring the short pitting strategy, because now Overdrive, another championship contender, has entered the pits. Or at least they already have entered the pits, but now they're out of the pits. So 34 cars on the lead lap, and the rest of the field, from 35th, 36th, and 37th, they have already done a service in this race, about 55 laps or so into this race. And whether or not that is a bold strategy call or not, we'll see. I mean, I don't know about Bell. I think Bell was a genuine issue on the car. But I'm a little concerned about why a championship contender in Overdrive is also pulling this strategy, because I don't see it working whatsoever. I don't see it working. Unless a caution comes out within the pit window, So we have seen, especially at like Indy and the dirt race a couple weeks back, some cautions do come out during the pit stop sequence, but I don't know. For Overdrive, what they were looking for was they really just needed to stay ahead of Bell, and right now that can't be done. I mean, they're going to be faster than them, don't get me wrong, but they're still going to have to... They're still not going to have a good finish unless it somehow goes their way. Second place is up for grabs between 4, maybe 5 different drivers. Right now it's Lumen that holds on to it. And Fillian's going to be in third after taking it away from Callie. And Fu just right behind her, as well as Starlight. So, battle for second heating up, allowing Soleil to comfortably get a small but comfortable gap. And now a couple other drivers in the pit, coming out of the pits. There's Bimmel in the 9. So right now it does look like a couple other drivers are coming in. Very slowly we're seeing pit stops occur. Looks like somebody from the front's pitting. It's Fillian. Let's see, who else pits here? So Fillian inside the top 5. They end up pitting. And that's about it for the moment being. See who comes in this time by, if anybody. A couple others from inside the top 10. Callie, there's Weebu. Another championship contender in Merriweather, they come in. Risu, who we saw climb from the back and comfortably inside the top 20. A couple others here. So yeah, there is some pit stops here coming and going. They can basically run about 60 to 65 laps because here comes Lumen and Starlight and Fifi as well. Several drivers pitting this time. Many more this time. Still pretty much split. Let's see, how long does Soleil stay out? Do they come in this time? They stay out. Okay. Not a bad strategy. Fu comes in. Noriboshi stays out. That's a long ways away, basically a long ways away until you find anybody else who stayed out that time by. Now Soleil's coming in this time. I'm going to keep an eye on who becomes a race leader at this point. Noriboshi's actually going to stay out. So Noriboshi's going to be the race leader now. So them, and I think... the only other people that I saw that stayed out was Sprite, and I'm pretty certain she has done her service. I gotta wait for Noriboshi to come in, which it looks like she might be coming in this time, and is doing so. And the question becomes, who will become the race leader now that now that the first cycle of green flag stops, or at least first cycle of stops has completed. The Sprite's already down. At this point, Bell does sit in 7th place. But is not running really fast, to be honest. Here comes Soleil, who's going to come out... ahead of Starlight, but behind a couple other drivers. We're going to have to see how this shakes up. I think short pitting may be the better strategy call here. I think short pitting may be the strategy call. Yeah, because right now it's William who sits in 2nd. And he was one of the earliest to come in. And he's in a sandwich right now with other drivers. So right now, as of this moment, that strategy of pitting early is paying dividends. I didn't really realize how early they were pitting. And to be honest, it wasn't as early as I thought. It looks like it was good. I mean, there's still going to be some cars faster than them. But right now, it's William out front, and DJ's actually going to hold 2nd. Ooh, Kyoso's trying to get off of being 1 lap down. There's a couple drivers that are a lap down, and those are the drivers that are directly behind William. Bell sits 6th, but we saw them losing a ton of spots because they are not as quick as everybody else is. Right now, they're going to lose another spot to Weebu. I mean, the strategy could work if they do get a caution. Oh, almost. They were almost the caution, which that was sketchy. Good Lord. And William has let, I believe, mostly everybody by, with the exception of David. Well, actually, no. The exception of Tyroki behind, but they're more than a couple car lengths back. David's the last car on the lead lap in 36th place. Actually, now they go to Kobo since they're battling each other there. Fillion's in 3rd. Callie in 4th, and Lumen back to 5th. Weebu's up to 6th. Fifi, 7th, 8th goes to Starlight, 9th goes to Bimble, and it's between Bell and Soleil, who would be the last driver inside the top 10. A pretty bold strategy here by both William and Overdrive. Now, keep in mind, strategy has helped William in the past. He won one of the earliest road course races of the season, which was the Charlotte road course, which is, you know, another track based in North Carolina, ironically enough. But strategy was the call by William. They pitted as early as they could to make it to the end of the race, and once they did, they just defended as perfectly as they could. And that's what got them a win early in this season. And they're looking to do something similar to the other track based in North Carolina. It kind of depends, though, on how long they can stretch it. Because right now, the gap between 1st and 2nd's really not drifting down as quick. Especially considering both Fillion and a bunch of other cars behind. They're running by themselves, so they could run practically... full throttle. Not really full throttle, but they can run on 100%. If you really want an indication of how Bell's race is going so far, when everything was said and done, they were up to 7th. They've fallen 10 spots within a handful of laps. And I feel like they're only going to lose more and more. The only person that's really catching William is the one and only car one lap down, and that's Tyroki. Tyroki had themselves a nasty day at Indy last week, being upside down. They got into it with Kyoso on the backstretch, and the result of that was the 41 upside down back across the... That could have been a lot worse, by the way. That wreck, if you haven't seen that wreck, that wreck could have been a whole lot worse. Right now, William and Overdrive kind of hold the rest of the field down by quite a bit. I mean, Weebu right now is coming up through this field quickly. They're the only car, I believe. Well, there's a handful of others, but there's a lot of cars that are creeping into the 22-second lap times, which would be really quick. They are quicker than a bunch of these cars ahead of them. And Weeb is the one that leads all of those fast cars. Tyroki to the inside of William, so Tyroki is going to get their lap back. So now, after all that is said and done, all 37 cars still on the lead lap. For now, until Bell decides to come back into the pits, which is now, so now they're the first car one lap down. Funny enough, I had to say that. There's no way Bell could run that long, especially as long. They might be able to push farther and farther and try to even themselves back out, but at the moment, Bell's just going to have themselves a miracle of a day here in order for them to finish anywhere outside, anywhere above top 30. They're going to file out in 9th between Bimble and Soleil, but not actually 9th place. I really want to keep an eye on this gap from third on up to see how quick Weeboo is compared to the other. Well, really, I think it's Weeboo, Starlight, and Fifi, because these three are running nose to tail, and they're running some quick laps. 23 zeros, about a tenth, maybe two, close, faster than Fillion, several more tenths quicker than Overdrive. And Bell is 2 laps down at the moment, so even a caution wouldn't really save Bell. They would need a caution fest here, which we saw last week at Indy, so that's not too much out of the realm of a possibility. I'm curious to see how the strategy of Overdrive and Williams, what the long-term ramifications are for these two. Because at this moment, it's really helping Overdrive at this. If it works, then Overdrive can easily get a solid top 5, maybe podium position to finish out this race. But then you got drivers like Weeboo, who just passed Fillion, which was the last car that was running somewhat slower laps than Overdrive. But now Weeboo's one of the quickest cars, especially bringing Fifi and Starlight. They are chasing down this 12 car. Let's see, right, the last time by, it was about a second between second and third place. And right now, we're looking at a couple tenths of a second that were gained there. 23-1 and a 23. I mean, it's several tenths at a time, though. It's not immediately that they're going to catch them. But it's inevitable at this point. Another 23.1, 23.5. Yeah, several more tenths gained that time. I mean, right now, it's only really just 3 cars at the... Well, actually, here comes Lumen, who's setting quick laps. It's really going to help, too, if they battle right behind Overdrive, but right now, Fifi's just going to make sure that they can be the one to be the first one around the 12 car. I got to get a run down this front stretch here. Overdrive's not going to really be able to block it. Gives it up much quicker than I thought he was going to. That's going to allow Starlight, though, to maybe take away that second spot. I thought about it. Couldn't get to it. The Overdrive is going to lose several spots, especially to take him outside the top 5, but maybe not so much the top 10. There is a bit of a gap to that point, so Overdrive is just going to lose the top 5 at the very least. It is a bit of a gap till you get to Soleil, who would be the next car for position. Although that is a train of cars right just behind her. Well, they're running relatively the same lap times. Right now it's William who holds a 3-second lead over Fifi, but the question is I don't even want to say it's a question. It's just more so when will we see the 53 or the 24 or the 11, whoever's going to be in second place at the time. It's going to be a matter of when they're going to catch it, because right now that gap finally dips under 3 seconds for the first time since the end of the pit stop sequence. And William did pit at around lap 50, I would say lap 50 around there to 55. So they're about 10, 15 laps away from their pit stop. So at that point, it would just be another 10 laps of these 3 battling for the race lead. They can battle all they want. Right now, it's not for the lead. And I know that William is not really running for the championship at the moment, but they still want to be within 100 points of the champion after next week's race. So leading the most amount of laps will definitely help them in that quest. Gap now down to less than 2.5 seconds. And the entire top 5 is within less than 3 seconds. So as this run continues to progress forward, 10 is losing time, whereas everybody behind, they're starting to gain back, even if they are battling side by side. Which normally would make the cars go a little slower. If it is making them go slower, it's maybe by a tenth, maybe 2. Not much more than that. Starlight now takes away that second spot. And this is a day that they would love to capitalize on, championship-wise. They sit first place, whereas Bell can stay in last place. They would have a dominant run for the championship. It would almost flip-flop. It would legitimately practically flip-flop between Starlight and Bell in terms of the storyline going into the race. Starlight has been necessarily the dominant champion so far. They led the most in terms of the championship. They led the most amount of races. They were a full race ahead, almost, I would say more than that actually, almost 2 full races ahead at one point, but has subsequently let out the gas a little bit, and then that's caused 4 other drivers to become championship contenders, including Bell, who now sits with the championship lead. Not at the moment, though, to say the least. Not at the moment. I think we have a caution. Thought I saw caution lights. Nope. I do see William and Overdrive coming into the pits, though. Okay, yeah, we are still green. I thought I saw caution lights, but I think I was seeing the yellow of the lights themselves. But as of this moment, Bell and Fifi battle for the race lead, as Overdrive and William both give up their run for the moment. And they both came in relatively at the same time this time. Overdrive came in, I think, about a lap or 2 later that first time around. But those two have come in at around lap 100, so that they could run to about lap 155, 160 until they get their next stop. But we still have these stops to get through. As of this moment, they're both going to sit 1 lap down, but they are going to be relatively ahead of everybody else. So they don't have to worry about going 2 down, but they do have to worry about being the first car 1 lap down in case a caution does come out. Unless at that point both drivers decide to stay out and everybody else goes into the pits, in which case they would at least get the waiver route and they would both be back on the lead lap at that point. But it all depends, though, on the timing and if they could get a caution. For the first time today, we're actually seeing Bell actually being faster than everybody else. Made their way up to right now 3rd place, but again, they sit 2 laps down. But they want to be 1 lap down. They could become a driver that's also 1 lap down, and they could get the wave around if they get a quickie caution after getting back this lap, which they do, which is ironically enough, and not really helping their case here. They just helped Starlight go from 4th to 1st in a corner, so that was not ideal, but Bell could get the wave around after a caution comes out if they could get it within the next 5 to 10 laps. They could be back on the lead lap as well as William and Overdrive, but at this moment, I don't think that's going to be the case. Nobody coming into the pits right now, so nothing there to update on. I mean, we're still within about 10, maybe 15 laps away from everybody else starting their cycle to come into the pits for the second time. Assuming that 60 to 65 is the range that these cars will go. So right now, what we got for the field, we got Starlight ahead of Weebu, who's in 2nd, Fillion in 3rd, Fifi in 4th, 5th place goes to Lumen, who's being battled right now by 6th place of Cali. 7th is Soleil, 8th is Bao, 9th is Merryweather, and Lucky rounds out the top 10. Bimble in 11th, Iron Mouse still outside the top 10 in 12th place. Risu in 13th, and I think, ironically enough, there's a caution. Oh my god. Wow. I didn't think we were going to get a caution out at all, but we do. Where did this happen? It didn't happen up front, I'll tell you that much. Where did the caution come out at? Okay, there's the caution. And I don't see anything. I don't see anything. Nobody's... Really? Of all things. A caution for nothing. Legitimately, there's nobody around. There's no smoke. Okay. Caution is out for something. Don't know what, but our first caution of today at 1:09. Wow. Okay. That first time for everything, I guess. Here comes everybody into the pits. Well, for Bell, William, and Overdrive, they got what they wanted, which was a caution. And nobody was a victim of it. Wow. Actually, Bell came back into the pits. Now it's back off, so they're still going to be... I think they'll be a lap. No, wait, no. They came out ahead of everybody else, so even if they might... They'll still get the wave around, but I don't think they'll be on the lead lap. Well, there's William and Overdrive, but they will be tail end. They gotta let all these cars by the time we get this restart here. What a weird sequence. What a weird sequence that just took place. I have called 29 of these races, and I don't think I've ever had a caution for nothing. Legitimately nothing. Alright. So, after 110 laps out of a 335 lap event, got Starlight ahead of Fillion in second. Third is Lumen. Fourth is Fifi. Fifth is Cali. Sixth is Weeboo. Seventh is the championship contending Merryweather. Bao in eighth. Actually, seventh. Nope, eighth. I'm right. Ninth place is Soleil and Lucky in 10th. Outside the top 10, we got Risu in 11th. Fu in 12th. Bimble in 13th. Iron Mouse 14th. Lost a couple spots out of that stop, not gonna lie. Fruit at 15th, Noriboshi at 16th, 17th is Sprite, 18th is David, 19th is Henya, and 20th is Kason and the rest of the field on back for this restart. Thankfully, we aren't one to go at the moment. I don't know if Bell is going to be one lap down or on the lead lap. They did come into the pits, but they did come out ahead of everybody else, so they may stay one down because of that. Don't know. Yippee! Thank you for the follow, by the way. Meter TTV. Okay, so I got a second here to speak on this. So right now, what we got is we have all these drivers, all these VTubers, trying to race their way to where this 24 is right now, and they have to be there by the end of this mark, but we're only 112 in, so we got a long ways to go. This is the 29th race out of a 30 race season, so we're coming down to the point where overall we got to look at a champion, and right now the race leader is at the moment the current points leader. Bell is going to stay one lap down, so they have to still get a caution at some point. But the good news is that unless mechanically they have another problem, within the next 20 to 30 laps. They are on the same sequence as everybody else, so they will be able to stay on cycle here and not go 2 or 3 down. Green flag back in the air. Three wide. Got a couple rows back. Merriweather trying to climb up, trying to lead a lap and become the 4th out of the top 5 contenders for the championship to lead a lap. Being pushed by Soleil, who's also looking, oh my goodness. Fillion way too deep into 3 there, almost in the wall, if not did hit the wall. Right now, 1, 2, 3 is Starlight, Merriweather, and Soleil. Risu, who we saw outside the top 10, up to 4th now after that restart. What an insane run. Ooh, I think Lumen just got bumped into the wall right there. If not, they came real close to it, but they're going to lose a lot of spots. These restarts are more than chaotic. Oh my god. I didn't realize these restarts would be this way. And they're still packed 3 wide. They're still 3 wide. There goes Callie. Ooh. Don't get too close to that wall. That wall will get you. This is back in what? 13th spot? They're still stacking up. Meanwhile, every position from like the top 10 on up, they are basically single file. And Weebu's going to be losing a ton of spots here. And Bell, who's still trying to get back on the lead lap, they're getting up there because of these restarts. Although they don't really need to try and risk major damage, but again, they're trying to win the championship. I'm not going to stop them from that. Comes Merriweather to the inside of Starlight. And I don't think he's going to lead it this time at the line, but they are going to be in the turn 1. Really close. I don't know if I'll actually play this, to be honest, because I don't know. I thought about it. It won't be anytime soon, if I do. Starlight falls to 4th. I do play something similar to this called iRacing. It's super similar to this. A more modern version of this. That is something I do. In fact, I might do that Tuesday. Thought about Monday, but I don't want to do it this week. Or, I don't want to do it Monday. So there goes... So Merriweather now out front. So 4 out of the top 5 of the championship heading into today's race has led a lap. The only other driver that hasn't led inside the top 5 in points is the one and only driver that's been struggling, which is Bell. Sitting the only car 1 lap down in 37th position. I said it was pretty calm inside the top 10, but then I'm looking back here. We're seeing 3 wide back here. I don't think we're gonna be caution-free throughout the rest of this race. I think we're gonna get a cause for an incident here sometime soon if we continues this way. Lots can change within 120 laps, so seen it already today. We still have a couple pit stops left. And that caution for nothing has really helped out this 30 car of Henya. There they come. Nowhere to be found inside the top 15 for the first 120 laps, but here they are. Lap 123, them and Lumi up inside the top 5. And Iron Mouse is back inside the top 10 after falling back. They started second. Then after the first cycle of stops, they have kind of fallen back outside the top 10, but here they are back inside the top 10. Actually, inside the top 5 after the restart. Everybody inside the top 5, with the exception of Henya, they have won a race this season. Single file through most of the top 10. And then it's 3 wide. Sprite all the way up against the wall. Soleil almost as well. Starlight up to 4th. Looking for 3rd. Couldn't make that work. Kason way up the racetrack. Here comes Dreamer for the 7th spot, I think. I think it's 7th spot. There's so many positions going on at once, I can't tell. Soleil has fallen back tremendously. They were, like, leading majority of this race, and now they've fallen outside the top 20. Fifi as well. Oh my god. We talked about how good these restarts have been for several drivers. We got Fifi, Soleil, Cali. Who else? There's several others here. Kason, Lumen, several drivers that were basically shoo-ins for top 5s. Now they're all outside the top 15. Now Starlight's up to 3rd. Kobo right behind her in 4th. Iron Mouse just behind. That's the top 5 at the moment. Henya's looking to take the race lead away. Again, hasn't won a race this season. They would like to win it today. Because again, with how the last couple of races have been, we've had a lot of first-time winners. And all of them, again, not championship contenders. So I guess it's never too late to win a race. But man, does it really sting for a championship contender to not win a race. Because I think, depending on how this season's going to conclude, I think a lot of these drivers are going to want those 3 bonus points for winning a race. Because man, oh man, does it sting when you don't win a race. And you're going to lose a championship by 3, maybe 6 points. Because it adds up. If you don't win a race and you lose by 6 points when you could have had those 6 points, man, does that sting. Starlight, oh my god, almost 3 for the lead. Nose to tail, everybody inside the top 5 practically on top of each other. Comes Henya to side by side underneath Merriweather. Kobo looking behind that 3rd spot. Right now, 3 out of the top 5 in the championship standings are holding 3 out of the top 5 right now. Iron Mouse looking like the best out of the bunch, 3rd place. Last week's winner is Simu up in the picture as well, 6th place at the moment. We still have 200 and just a little over 200 laps left. Good lord, this race is going to take forever. These last 2 weeks are going to take forever compared to the rest of the season. The last 2 races of the season are practically endurance races compared to everything else. Kobo looking for the race lead and is going to get it outside of 2 here. Oh, Jesus. Starlight got loose. Exiting 2 right there. Lost momentum to the right to the 22. Well, that allows Simu to get up inside the top 5. And also up to 4th place out of that. Top 3 still basically nose to tail at the moment. And then getting a little bit of help from Iron Mouse, who's instead going to try for herself to make a move for a position. Also, by the way, if anybody does join that Discord, there are roles which will announce what I'll be doing, including the YouTube role, which I announce when I'm doing on YouTube practically an hour-ish before I start it. I also announce it on my Twitter and other medias, I guess. Quick run through the field here. Kobo, Iron Mouse, Henya, Simu, and Starlight, the top 5. Then it's Watson, Fu, Lumi, Fruit, and Dreamer, the top 10. Not too far behind is Fifi, Sprite, Bimble, Risu, and Didi. And then Noriboshi, Merryweather, who falls all the way to 17th. My God. 18th, Callie. 19th is David. And rounding out the top 20 is Weebu. And now we're going to be 3 wide for the race lead going into turn 1 here. And you're looking on the very bottom. Ironmel stuck in the middle. Kobo's going to get the worst out of it on that high side. Ironmel's with a smart decision to slot back inside quickly. And a crossover by Ironmouse. A solid crossover move there. That was a good move. Kobo's going to fall outside the top 5. After being stuck on that high side 3 wide last time by. But Ironmouse going to get the best out of it because of that crossover into 3. Takes the race lead back and pulls about a 1/10 of a second away from Henya at the moment. Well, Watson right behind got a good run off of 4. I don't know if Henya really wanted that move to happen, but here comes Watson up to second. That high groove is not the line to be at this track. We've seen a lot of drivers fall back tens of spots because of that. I mean, look no further than Soleil and Merryweather, 2 drivers that were basically inside the top 10 all day. Both drivers, I mean, Soleil's 25th, Merryweather's still 15th, but just not where you want to be. You don't want to be outside that high line. You don't want to be on that outside line necessarily. Iron Mouse right now trying to basically finish off what they started at Indianapolis last week, which was a very dominant run. They couldn't finish it because they ended up upside down and out of the race a little after halfway through the race. So Iron Mouse trying to finish off a solid run at Indianapolis with a more than solid run here at Rockingham, which would put them within a stretch away from the championship, because right now they sit 55 back. And if they can end today's race less than 40 behind the championship leader, they will be in contention for the championship. Albeit it is a long shot from here for Iron Mouse as well as Merryweather, as those two sit within, I think, 3 or 4 points from each other. They both did not have a good race at Indy last week, so they sit relatively close to each other. About 55 to 60 back in the points. And if they're more than 40 back from the championship leader, they are mathematically eliminated from the championship. Each position worth 1 point, leading a lap, which 4 out of the 5 in the championship hunt have done today. That's worth another point. But winning a race will also get you 3 more points. So right now, with how this race has developed, we're not even halfway through this race. We're getting closer to it, but we're not at that point yet. So a lot could change, but at this moment, at this very moment, it's going to be a dogfight between 3, maybe 4 cars. Between Starlight, Bell, Overdrive, and Iron Mouse. Starlight sits in 3rd. Iron Mouse falls back outside the top 10. Actually, still sits inside the top 10, rather. Merryweather, the first car out of the top 10, in 11th. Overdrive, 36th. The last car on the lead lap. They're struggling. At this run, I don't know if they're struggling or if they're just holding back because we're not halfway through this race. I've seen that happen a lot this season. They just kind of want to be there at the end of the race rather than being up front and risk being wrecked out. I mean, I don't know if they saw what happened with Iron Mouse last week, but if they did, that's a bold call to not want to be around any other car and just kind of stick with themselves. Because we still have several more cycles of pit stops to go through, which could change this race in a heartbeat. So what you see inside the top 10 now, it may not be that way once we get to the final 30 to 40 laps. Fruit's also in the picture as well. They also did not have a good race here last week. Got involved in a couple incidents and didn't finish as well as they would have liked, but then again, they aren't battling for the championship. They are battling for something just as important, and that is a shot for a championship next season in the 2025 season. It's like I said, anybody under 100 points from the champion after next week, they will get a 2025 ride automatically. Currently, I think there's 11. I don't know exactly how many were at that point coming into today. I think it was 10 or 11 cars. Which, that's another thing that's really helping out, or that's another interesting thing about Bell just having the day that they have had all day. And that's not only opening up the doors for a different championship leader, which would right now be Starlight, that's also opening up a lot more entries for next season. A lot more drivers that are going to be trying for a second time for a championship. But as of this moment, right now, it's going to be that 24 Starlight that everybody's going to be chasing down and trying to pass ahead of, get ahead of. Because while they currently run second, both right now and the points coming into today's race, they were only behind by 22 points, which was essentially 22 positions. And right now, they are ahead of Bell by a lot more than 20 positions. 35 to be exact. So, not only will Starlight have the points lead, but will basically, like I said, flip-flop the standings. They won't be 22 ahead of Bell, but they'll be practically close to that mark. I mean, I think it'll be maybe if they get this win here today, which don't know yet, but if they do get a win here today, that'll put them, I think, 18 to 20 points ahead, I think. It'll be close. I'm trying to math it out in my head at the moment, which is hard to do. I didn't really do good in math when I was in school. By the way, we still aren't halfway through this race officially. We're getting close to it, though. We're getting really close to that point, though. Only about 5 laps away from it. 5.5. I guess, because it's not an even number. It's not going to be an exact lap. It's going to be 160. What was it? 167, I think it was. Yeah, 167 down the backstretch. Got a couple drivers pitting this time. Ooh, that was close. I thought I saw Iron Mouse getting spun. A couple drivers pitting this time. That'll be Starlight and a bunch of others. It's going to leave Fu out ahead. Looks like William has more damage. My God. Well, I guess we'll keep an eye on this here for the moment. A couple drivers already in the pits. Callie. Yeah, several drivers already pitting. Here comes more. Including Bell. Fruit's gonna just barely be ahead of Starlight there. Couple more this time. There's Iron Mouse. And Fu's going to come out just ahead of her. Field has gotten pretty single filed out now. Which is the consequence of these pit stops. I think Fruit might be the first car out ahead of everybody else. I think. That sounds correct. Because Fruit did pass Starlight, which they were... Yeah, I do believe they will be out ahead of everybody else once everything is settled. And Overdrive is just not too far, though, ahead. They aren't one lap down necessarily, but they're close to being one down. There's a couple other drivers that have stayed out, but I'm pretty sure everybody... Yeah, I saw that list from... Yeah, there we go. Okay. After all is updated, Fruit in front. Second place is Fu. Third place is Callie. Fourth place is Starlight. Fifth place is Fifi. Sixth is Dee Henyan. Seventh, Watson. And eighth and ninth is Merriweather. And rounding out the top 10 is Iron Mouse, although being challenged by Melody in 11th. 12th goes to Kason. 13th is Sprite. 14th is Lucky. Fillion falls to 15th. 16th is Dope D Bird. 17th, 18th, and 19th, Takobo, Kura, and Lumi. And then David and Bimmel just behind them. 20th and 21st. 22nd is Nana. 23rd is Lumen. Bell still sits one lap down, 37th. Risu in 24th. And 25th and 26th is Noriboshi and Weebu. And the rest of the field on back. Soleil fell back a ton of spots, by the way. They were sitting inside the top. A good spot for Soleil early in this race. They fall into 31st after the pit stops. 1 second gap between first and second place at the moment. We are a little bit more than halfway through this race, by the way. So it took us about, how long? About an hour and a half, a little less than that, to get to this point. It'll be roughly a 3-hour show. I don't think we'll be the longest, but it'll get close to one of the longest streams of this season. Battle for that second spot. There goes Starlight. I was going to chase down Fruit, who had a second lead at one point. It's dropped a couple tenths. I mean, right now, like I said before, the race started, Starlight didn't really need to finish that much better than Bell unless something happened. And, well, something did happen to Bell. And now Starlight's going to try to take every opportunity that they can to not only take away the championship lead going into Vegas, but have it to where it would have to be fought for. And a good, comfortable championship lead. Whoa, Bell loose. Dee almost in the wall in turn 1. That was close. Now it's Starlight with a race lead. And is building a gap over everybody else. $173 in the book here. Got a battle for second between Fruit, Callie, and also Fu at the same time. And they're chasing down Overdrive, who's trying to stay on the lead lap, I should say. But if they go one lap down, that will hurt Bell's chances of having a comeback in the second half of this race if a caution comes out. Which we've had one today, but that one was for legitimately nothing. So, which has never really, I don't think has happened at all in this series. So, if that doesn't happen again, which I want to say, because we haven't had that before, that might be the case. Chances are we might stay relatively incident-free for the majority of this race. We might get a caution late, depending on how aggressive these drivers want to take it. But it's really just gonna have to come down to whether Overdrive and Bell can get it right now rather than later. Right now, everybody inside the top 5 in the points, they're really just wanting somebody to not do well. And they got one driver to not be in a good spot. And now they're going to get 2, but they also got to realize, too, that they got to make sure that Starlight doesn't have too good of a finish here today. Because that'll still knock out Iron Mouse and Merryweather, despite Bell having themselves a terrible day. Now Overdrive falls officially 1 lap down. It has allowed Cali to kind of close the gap between them and first place at the moment. Also, DM is also on the verge of going a lap down. Maybe not as much. Melody has a problem. Melody is slow. '36 car has a problem. They are coasting around this track right now. They are coasting. And they have some sort of problem right now, and I don't know what it is. Could it be a cylinder down? Could it be a tire? I don't know. I can't tell. They are still running around. But they are running 26-second lap times as Cali takes the lead away. That's still 3 seconds quicker, almost 4 seconds quicker. Or slower, sorry. 4 seconds slower than this pack right here that's catching her. I don't know. Still staying out, but they are slow. And a caution is out. I think that caution is for that. Unless it came out for an incident, but I'll just double check. Let me double check and make sure. Doesn't look like an incident happened. No, it just looks like they threw the caution for Melody, just being that slow around the leaders. That's a dangerous situation to be in. If Cali caught her at a horrible time, then it would have been bad news for the whole field. That would have been... I can see why they held it off. I thought Melody was going to go into the pits a whole lot sooner, because especially they ran around 3 or 4 laps as slow as they were. So the caution has come out. That will allow Overdrive to get back on the lead lap. So that's good news for the 12. Our second caution of today, and also not for incident technically. I mean, it's still a mechanical problem by the 36 as they stack up because they're trying to get it all sorted out here. Nobody's coming into the pits right now, which I guess I shouldn't be too shocked. It is kind of early in their run. I would have expected some cars to maybe try something different strategy-wise, but yeah. There goes Overdrive back on the lead lap. So that's the good news for the 12. The bad news for Bell, they will stay one lap down, especially because nobody else is pitting. Did Melody end up going into the pits? Yeah, they ended up in the pits. So at the very least, whatever issue they have, they are going to get fixed up. If it was a tire problem and they were just trying to ride around to see if they would get a caution, they got it, and that might be an advantage for them. If it was a mechanical for engine problems, like going down a cylinder, which has happened, they are going to be perpetually slow for basically the rest of this race. So if it was a tire situation, they are going to be not only fine, but they're going to be more than fine. Unless it I don't know. It looks like they're going back in the pits. So I don't think it's a tire problem. I think it might be engine problem for the 36. Tough break. They were in a good spot at Indianapolis, and then they had a terrible wreck. They also ended up upside down. And this is not what you want to see if you are a Melody fan. Oh my goodness, that's... What the fuck? I've seen it all. I've seen it all. Yep, I have seen it all. Alright. I think it sucks being a Melody fan in this series, not gonna lie. Alright. Well, I think it's more than just whatever the problem was initially. I think it's more than that now. Alright. $186 laps in the books. So now that takes out one car, so now we're down to 36 cars on track. Callie, Starlight, Henya, Merriweather, and Fu, the top 5. Then you got Fifi, Fruit, Watson, Kason, and Iron Mouse. That rounds out the top 10. Sprites, Didi, Kobo, Doki Bird, Bimble, that's to 15th place. 16th on back is Lucky, David, Felian, Lumi, and Nana. And then the rest of the field on back as they double up. Starlight is going to be on the outside line for this restart, which... better keep an eye on it, because I'll tell you what, these restarts from that last restart, it was a little too chaotic for me to call with how much 3-wide action there was. What we got on this restart in the order, it's going to be jumbled up by the time we get back to the line here. Callie with a good jump. Andy with the look to the inside for a second. And didn't take long before we got 3-wide action. Gonna bring up a lot of drivers who were starting on that inside line. That's gonna bring up a lot of drivers and push back some. Fu making it 3-wide. Looked, but couldn't make it work. Side by side for the race lead. Enya with the race lead at the moment, but still to the inside of her is Fu in the 17. And they're looking for their 3rd win of the season. Let things settle out before I go through and find where all the championship... We almost got 4-wide. We do have 4-wide. That includes 2 of the championship contenders. Wow, okay. They got that sorted out. I don't know if 4-wide would have worked. I think we would have seen a big wreck right there. Fu, Kobo, Kali, Henya, and Lumi, the top 5 at the moment. Bell has climbed up into the top 20s. Top 15, but still 1 lap down. The first driver in the championship, top 5 championship, is Starlight, who sits 17th. It's actually got to get past, almost passed by Overdrive, who just got back on the lead lap and now sits in the just inside the top 20. So again, that's the best news that you've got for the 12 car at the moment. Iron Mouse in 33rd. Let's actually see where everybody's at right now. So it goes, let's go from top to bottom. Overdrive, who has now climbed back inside the top 15, trying to squeeze and claw and climb their way through this mess of a pack. Just ahead of them, literally just ahead of them, is Starlight, who's being battled by Bell, but Bell sits 30. Oh, we got a wreck! There goes Kason and Sprite! And we got a big wreck as Bell's in the mix in all of this. Overdrive gets through, Iron Mouse gets through, Soleil takes damage. Oh my God. The restarts are chaotic, and that's the first caution of today for a wreck. Holy moly. Most of the championship contenders got through that. Wow. Get a replay on that. That could have been so much worse. Oh, an issue with Sprite. That's what caused this wreck. Sprite was slow and tried to get to... Oh my God. All right. So that's why. So Sprite, who was currently running in 8th place at the time, had a problem and was trying to get to the bottom. And then Kason just had nowhere to go. And that caused this little stack up here that Bell got into DM, David, Bao. Wow. Just another driver with a mechanical issue. And that causes this little stack up right here. Wow. If anybody got damage, it's very minimal with the exception of Kason, Sprite. Bell got nailed big time. DM, Bao, David, ton of drivers. Some drivers just got stacked up and maybe Lucky gets hit. Oh, big shot in the wall there by William. That's major damage there, despite it being a light hit. Oh my God. So while it was a caution for incident, it was because of mechanical problems. Again, this time it's Sprite. I've seen an uptick in mechanical problems these last couple of races. And today it's caused two safety cars at the very least. And one of them for incident. So lap 195 completed. We still have more than 100 laps left. Almost 140 laps left. Fu, Kobo, Henya, Filian, and Risu, the top 5. Then it's Callie, Lumi, Merriweather, Watson, and Dreamer to the top 10. 11th is Tyroki, 12th is Starlight. Starlight fell 10 spots in a short amount of time. Nana, 13th. Overdrive up to 14th. They restarted 37th, by the way. 15th is Mizuki. Bell, I don't think is going to be back on the lead lap after getting involved in that wreck. I may be wrong, but we'll see. Kelso at 16th, 17th is Bimble. Doki Bird at 18th. The 19th is Noriboshi. 20th is Fifi. 21st is Iron Mouse. Gura 22nd. Lucky 23rd. Didi 24th. Weebu 25th. Rest of the field on back. Sprite got some of that damage repaired. I mean, it looks like there's a couple drivers that did come into the pits. DM, William, David, Kason, and Sprite. I think Bao as well. I don't know if Soleil came into the pits or not. They didn't really get damage from it. And because as well, I'm going to look at this because we're going to have to keep an eye on it. These drivers that stayed out this time, which is basically the drivers that I mentioned off from 1st to 25th, they are right on the razor's edge of their pit window, so they are going to have to come in at some point. I don't know why they didn't do it now. Maybe it's because they needed to... Maybe it's because they're right on the edge, but they also are trying to two-stop this race and not have a third stop added into the mix. Which is fine. But for the drivers that just ended up pitting, the ones that I did mention, like DM, William, and them, they are going to be three-stopping this strategy here, and they are going to get the advantage. Short-term advantage of being out front while everybody else is in the pits. For some drivers, it won't be much of an advantage like DM, who had a ton of damage. And I don't know if William is going to get an advantage out of it for having all that side damage, but we'll keep an eye on that 10 car mostly. But for the ones that did pit that had very minimal damage, like David and, let's see, who else was in the back there? Sprite, David, and Kason, maybe Bao as well. They are going to have quite an advantage once these drivers start coming into the pits here within the next, actually, I think 5 to 10 laps. Maybe 15 if some of them want to stretch it to a two-stopper. But this next restart's going to be even more crazier because they're going to have to find out a way to settle this out and try to find a way to pit. Because they still have to pit within the next no more than 15 laps. Green flag's back out. Kobo tried to get a good jump on that outside line. Actually will clear the 17. So for the rare instance where the outside line actually has a good restart, at least for the front row. And an update on the 69. They did not get back their lap because they were involved in the wreck. And as well, they have to battle with Sprite, who is also one lap down. Things got single file real quick, but it's still 4 wide. 4 wide. My goodness. I don't know how they made that work. That had Overdrive. That had David. That had a couple cars that were involved in the wreck. In that mix. But they made it work. So we stay green at the moment. They still run 3 wide, though. Kobo, Fu, Henya, Risu, and Lumi basically single file top 5. Iron Mouse is back inside the top 10, roughly. Starlight following them on the inside, and Merryweather following those two on the inside as well. 3 wide deep in the field here with Overdrive. Iron Mouse sits 9th, so yeah, they are back inside the top 10. Alright, things are settling out a little bit. As long as nobody has a mechanical problem, we should be good. I hope. The 3 wide action, they're really tight on each other. DM actually climbing up. I'm surprised to say that DM's actually climbing up quite a bit with that rear end damage. I didn't think it would be as much of a help as it is, but it is helping out DM. And David as well, charging through this field. They were some drivers that pitted, and if they did pit, I assume they took tires, because if not, then why pit? Especially as late in the run as this is. But David is hard charging through this field, just clocked in 11th, and is going to pass Iron Mouse for that 10th spot. And if Bell could not get their lap back for a lucky dog because they were involved in the wreck, then they might as well get it back legitimately. And that's what they're trying to do, and they may be able to because of how quick they're running. And David is running quick laps despite being in traffic. And like I said, this is going to be the benefit for them short-term wise because they are going to be off sequence compared to everybody else who hasn't pitted in almost 60-ish laps. So, and David really wasn't involved that heavily, you know what I mean. It wasn't bad damage for the 77. They did get a little bumps and bruises here and there, but, you know, it wasn't that much compared to other drivers. I don't know if DM has started to settle out a little bit with that damage. They did. I mean, that inside line is really helpful. If they stay on that inside line, they will be able to climb up and have some damage control. There goes David way up the racetrack. My goodness. I have no idea if that was if got on the wall there or not, but practically did at that point. William has climbed up inside the top 5. Bell's climbing up to get their lap back. Top 3 is all practically safe, settled for the moment. Another spot for William there. The drivers that did end up pitting, they have to make sure they're not racing off their tires as hard, because that'll spell disaster, because then they would, oh my goodness. Kason's up inside the top 5 now. Comes David looking for second on William. And Bell is going to take away. Actually, it's just going to be, oh my god, here comes William. Never mind. I was going to say, Bell's going to get their lap back. But William's going to be right there to say, nuh-uh, stay one down. And now it's William and David, the top 2, and they're going to be just running away with it, basically. These two are going to have a battle because they're on the same tires. They're on the same strategy, but basically they're by themselves at this point. Maybe add in Kason, who's now up to 4th. And now David takes away the first place spot. And for somebody that's been in the back all race long, they're finally up front. Started in 11th, but ever since the start of the race, they have fallen and fallen and fallen back outside the top 20. And now what they just needed was to get off sequence with everybody else, and that's what they did. Now it's David and William, the top 2. 3rd place, Kason, also on the same strategy. Kason did have a pretty hard shot to that inside wall after getting into it with Sprite, but I think the person that got the worst out of it was Sprite. I mean, let's add Sprite and maybe DM out of everybody that was involved. But DM's running 6 after, you know, pitting as early as they did. And right now, while they're battling behind David, David's going to be able to take away a little bit of a gap here. Keep in mind, too, Bell is not on the lead lap. They are trying to get back on the lead lap the old-fashioned way. They didn't get it because they got involved in the wreck, which took them down into the pits. But ultimately, that did put them in a position to get it back by just passing David and running away from it. But David is running some really fast laps right now. A 23.1, which basically is everybody else on that strategy, including DM. Whereas Kobo and the rest of the field, they're sitting about 3, 4, maybe 5, if not more, tenths of a second slower. So if that were to stay that way, then basically the top 4, top 5, they're going to pull away. Not really top 5, but the top 3, realistically speaking, they're going to pull tenths of a second every lap, which will amount to about a second or 2 every couple. Now, this is just until everybody else pits, which would then flip-flop everything around. And I don't know, maybe some of these drivers on this strategy know... I don't know. If I am smart about this, if I'm anybody inside this top 3, I am pitting a couple laps after everybody else. Because everybody right now inside the top 3 has a 3-second gap to 4th place, which is DM. More than a 4-second gap to 4th place, so they don't want to be on the receiving end of the drivers with fresh tires coming by and blowing by them like it's nothing. This top 4 right now, they have the freshest tires. They can get the advantage right now, but as soon as everybody else pits, if they don't pit around that same time, they're going to be on the disadvantage. Long-term wise, this is a disadvantage, at least if it's late in the run. They pitted because they got involved in a wreck, sure. But for David, Kason, and William, it wasn't as bad as I initially thought. Now, William did pound the wall. I say pound the wall, but honestly, I think it was just the damage model probably showing more damage than what initially was reported. That does happen. Because William right now is just hanging on to 3rd, just kind of tailing Kason behind, in front of him. I mean, William was up front for a majority of this race, but once they fell back, it was just not so smooth sailing for the 10. Especially because they pitted earlier than everybody else. It's not the first time William's been on this style of strategy. But right now, it's a 5.5 to 6 second gap to Kobo, who's the first car outside this strategy. And like I said, Bell is not on the lead lap. They're trying to get back on the lead lap, but the other 3 cars ahead of them, they're just a little too quick. Just a little too quick. Saw a couple drivers coming out of the pits, including Tyroki, but there's some drivers still in the pits. So that cycle has begun. But now the question remains, does the top 3 stay out? And if they do, how long? Because it's not a good strategy to do this. But do they know that? It could probably level out pretty decently, to be honest. It wasn't as long of a run as I mean, it was still a pretty long run. But this top 3 can stay out and run a little bit longer than everybody else and kind of break the seal that would be the green flag stops, assuming that, of course, it stays green. There goes Iron Mouse, 1 lap down. All these drivers are going to go at least 1 lap down, if not 2. If you go 1 lap down in this and a caution comes out, you'll be fine because you'll probably get the wave around. If you go 2 laps down, then you're trapped. So right now, that's probably what this top 3 wants to see. Right now, this top 3 wants to see a caution so they can trap a majority of this field 1 lap down. I'm just trying to think what their strategy is. If they're trying to trap everybody 1 or 2 laps down, they're doing a good job at it. There's only 4 cars on the lead lap right now, and a majority of them are going to go 2 down. But there's going to be a lot of cars that are going to be faster than them that are going to try and become tail end on the lead lap. But at the same time, while there's only 4 cars on the lead lap, 5th and 6th place are currently the only cars 1 lap down. Everybody from Lumi on back, they are 2 laps down. If this top 4 can get a caution within a moment's notice, which we've seen before, they are going to be the only cars on the lead lap. Right now, Lumi and Iron Mouse are going to be the first cars to maybe get back on the 1 lap down. And you can definitely tell how much quicker they are on fresh tires. The top 3 didn't stay out too long compared to everybody else, but that's still a big difference between them controlling this race and defending. Kason right now is the race leader. Here comes David. David's going to try and take it 3 wide and keep... Oh, man. Even fresh tires will prevail in a 3 wide battle, even if you're taking in the middle 3 wide. So Iron Mouse is the first car 2 laps down. And Lumi's another one. Actually, no, Simu's another one that's trying to get back onto 1 lap down. This race has turned upside down. This race has really turned upside down. There goes Iron Mouse to go back 1 lap down. Not going to get it this time. Got a little loose on the exit of 2. Got to watch out for Simu, though. They won last week at Indianapolis. They got momentum coming into this race. Now Kason is going to go up to the high side and allow both Iron Mouse, Simu, and now Kobo and a bunch of others, basically, around them. So now they're 1 lap down. So now if a caution comes out, they'll be back on the lead lap, assuming that the drivers at the top 3 at the moment pit, and they get the wave around. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead's still heating up. And now Bell has actually taken away the, yeah, so now Bell is the last car on the lead lap. I was confused for a second because I saw a lot of things change on the leaderboard. I thought for a second... Never mind. Now David's starting to run away a little bit with the race lead. It is essentially a multi-class race, and I don't know... It's a little chaotic, isn't it? But just basically keep an eye on 6th place on back. That's the true battle for what might be the race lead at some point in time. And everybody's trying to stack up and try to get positions to try and pass these drivers that are slow because they're on a different strategy. Whoa! Gura's around into the wall. Keeps it straight. Trouble for the 1. Got hooked by Hano Mizuki on the exit of 4. That's a lot of damage on the left side, actually. The left side of the car. Was running 17th place at the time. I think she really wanted to go into the pits that time by, but I think she wants to pit from the high group, not gonna lie. The troubles for the 1 car of Gura. Still can't get to the inside. There's other drivers taking away that line. Not able to pit this time. I don't know. A lot of chaos. Meanwhile, David and Kason still practically on top of each other. 1st and 2nd place. Here comes Kyoso to try and get back on. Well, at one point, there was a lot of drivers 2 laps down. Right now, it's only... There's 16 cars... Actually, no, sorry. There's 10 cars 1 lap down. The top 5 are all on the lead lap, so 6th on back to 16th place at the moment. And everybody from the 40... Basically, everybody from Fifi on back, they're trying to get back on to 1 lap down. I don't know why David and them have not pitted at this moment. I kind of would have figured they would have pitted and gotten at least back equal. Because no matter what happens here, they're going to lose a lot of spots here. A lot of track position that'll be lost by all 5 of these cars. And David just got taken 3 wide. None of it for position, though. Kayson's the next car for position. But that has allowed a ton of other cars to be back on the back one lap down. As Bell gets sent up the racetrack into the wall ahead of them. And I think because of that, Bell's going to go back down one. They threw the block. Gura's still riding it out with all that damage on the left side. I keep seeing right side. Stop it. I think Kayson pitted. From the looks of things, yeah, Kayson has pitted, so they got tired of being passed by all sorts of different positions. So now it's 4 drivers. I think David may be the next one to pit. They're hugging that inside line. Yeah, okay, so David's coming in this time. I think that's gonna... Yeah, so David and Bell, they've all pitted, which is gonna bring the lead back to... whoever's gonna be out ahead of this mess. It looks like it's gonna be Kobo. That strategy could work if they get a caution and trap a ton of people 2 laps down. Ooh, big slide out of the 22. After all is said and done, it'll be Kobo ahead of Bimble, and then Lumi, who's in 3rd. Risu will be in 4th. And Iron Mouse round out the top 5. Then Henya, Simu, not Kayson. Well, maybe Kayson. I don't know. We'll see. I think I still gotta wait a second. Because here's the thing, David didn't come out too far back. They're gonna have the fresh tires. Yeah, they only fell back to 10th. They didn't lose as much as I thought. So right now it's Kobo as the race leader. All the way back to, again, Henya. But then there's Kayson, who's up to 7th and just hard charging with the fresh tires. Because they just got done pitting. So it's still going to be between Kayson and David. At the very least. And let's see. Where did William file out at? 14th. Okay, so it might be between those 3 still. Who got sent up in the wall? Oh, it was Risu. Kayson now up to the 5th spot. So when they did pit, they actually pitted at a pretty good time. I was kind of thinking they were going to lose a lot, but then I remembered they had to... Everybody had to make up basically 2 laps, if not a lap and a half. So it took a little bit longer for Kobo and them to pass Kayson, David, and William. But in the end, it's not going to be for anything. They're going to hang on to the lead for a moment until Kayson can charge up there, which is going to happen. 23.305, a 22.9, 4/10 quicker at the very least. Time's winding down in this race, and I think it may be between only 3 drivers. Kayson up to 2nd. Now here comes Kayson looking for the race lead down the tri-oval. Have to pass a lap car of Sprite. Ooh, man. Now, Sprite did cause the last caution because of a mechanical problem, and I'm not entirely too sure if they've completely fixed the mechanical problem for Sprite. They did fix up the damage. It's either they fix up the damage, but they still deal with the mechanical problems, or it's vice versa. And Bell is the first car one lap down, and they are going to be trying to make it to where they're the last car on the lead lap. And right now they're doing just that. So currently Bell sits the one and only car, or the last car on the lead lap, I should say. Let's go ahead and get a championship update outside of that. Second place in the points coming into today's race is Starlight, who currently sits in the 11th spot, just kind of riding around outside the top 10. Iron Mouse sitting in the 7th spot at the moment. Overdrive still struggling today after getting back on the lead lap. Currently sitting 29th. And then Merriweather only about a couple spots ahead of that. Right now it's Kason up ahead of everybody else, and they're going to be pulling away from everybody else. Because not only do they have the fresh tires, they also have a little bit of a gap between the next person that would be in contention, which would be David. Like I said, Kason and David did get involved in the wreck, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. They did pound the wall a little bit, but at the same time, too, it kind of levels out, and it even helps out the 32 and the 77 because they pitted under that caution, whereas everybody else did not. I don't know what the timing is going to be for these drivers, because everybody is going to be trying one more stop here. Everybody outside of David, Kason, and William, they're going to be trying one more stop. Because if they can make it on 60 to 65 laps in the range, then the window opens about 15 laps from now. But for Kason and David, it'll be a little bit longer for them. They both can make it. The trio, I should say, of Kason, David, and William, they can make it after this next stop. The question is where will they come out at? Because they're going to lose track position. They don't want to pit. See, the thing is they are going to pit as long, they're going to go as long as they can on this set of tires. But will it be too late? That's the question. Will it be too late? Getting it. David's now up to second. 3 wide, in fact. There they go. Up to second goes David. This strategy almost went up in flames for David and Kason as Gura got turned and hit that wall. If Gura ended up getting spun around or got, God forbid, stuck in the pit entry where these barrels are, the yellow barrels, if she got stuck in there, then that would have been a yellow flag. And that would have basically ended this strategy by the 32 and the 77. And as well as a 10, but the 10 still sits in 8th place. The thing is, though, is when will the 3, I should say, pit? If they pit too late, they might not have enough time to charge through the field and finish 1-2 or 1-2-3. What they need to do right now is they need to start pulling as much of a gap as they can. I don't know if Kason is conserving or not, or maybe they've used up their tires a little bit more than last time, but they're not pulling much of a gap. If they lose more track position under this final stop, they aren't going to have as much time. Like I said, we are just about to enter our final cycle of stops. For everybody that isn't on the strategy that Kason, David, and William are on. But it's also going to depend, again, on if this stays green. If this stays green, this will be interesting to watch. Because right now, this race could be between Kason and David and William. Or it could, or maybe not. Maybe I'm just focusing on the wrong group of cars. Because it's either those three drivers are going to be within a couple seconds of each other, battling for the win, or it's going to be whatever's going on back here with Henya and the rest of the group. I would say DM is on the same strategy, but they also do not have a rear end. So, you know, yeah. Sprite is in the pits right now, but again, they've been dealing with whatever issue it was that brought out that last caution. They're still dealing with it. And also, they are right on that edge of the window for them to make it all the way. So, I don't know. It's not going to be a good finish for Sprite, I'll tell you that much. But, speaking of that, they did pit right at the very end of the window. And nobody right now is entering the pits, so there's that. Meanwhile, Bell is trying to gain another spot here on Bao, who also has some side damage, but it's also struggling as well. So that's another position gained from Bell, which is rare to see. They're also going to gain a position on Gura here because Gura still has not pitted. And in fact, I feel like has more damage now. Nope, never mind. Same damage. Gura still has not pitted from that attack, from that damage. I think it's because they don't want to and they want to try and stick it out until they pit, but I don't know. Not necessarily the call of the year by that one team, but they're just riding around at this point. So Bao officially gets put one lap down. They do have about a 4-second gap to fourth place at the moment. Which is not big of a gap, which is not that big of a gap considering they're just about ready to start pitting here with under 60 to go. Meanwhile, despite only having 2 cars battling for the race lead at the moment, it's still an entertaining battle. There goes David for the lead. And David's going to be trying to stay within 100 points of the championship. And they're inside the top 10 in the points, so right now, they currently have that. And I did see Gura going into the pits, but I'm pretty I don't know if that's... I think several drivers are pitting. We'll see what happens this time by. As there goes the top 2. Nobody fourth on back immediately is coming in. Looks like several drivers are trying to stretch it just a little bit longer, so that way when they do pit, they get more of an advantage over these over the top 3 at the moment. Everybody's going to try and stretch it out just a little bit longer than everybody else. So there goes Gura and DM, 2 drivers that have damage. They're back out on track. This has allowed Bell to get up to 32nd spot, which is practically a win at this point by the 69. Considering they have had a terrible day today. They had some sort of problem early on that took them to the pits really early in the race. and then they've just been stuck 2 laps down and 1 lap down, and they have not been able to get lucky enough to get the lucky dog. They had a chance to when Sprite had that problem, and then got involved in it, which allowed the rest of the field to breathe a sigh of relief, because Bell still, well, technically on the tail end of the lead lap. Get another championship update here. Starlight currently in the 12th spot, battling with Kyoso for the 11th. Actually, no, they're battling for the 12th spot with Kyoso ahead of him. That's second in points coming into today. Overdrive, who came in 3rd in points, currently in their final stop right now, so they're going to try to gain something out of a short pit. I think right now it's not the best time to go through the championship field, though, because everybody's pitting. Iron Mouse currently inside the top 10 in 9th place, and Merriweather 24th at the moment. But now the final sequence has begun for a lot of drivers that are going to be trying to take away this win by both David and Kason. Right now, you are going to start seeing the 77 and the 32 get passed by quite a lot of drivers, especially those that have a ton of damage, including Gura. Right now, we are going to see basically everybody go back down 1 or 2 laps. Gura almost turns the 32 in turn 1 right there. Good lord. David and Kason going to move uphill to allow some drivers to pit. This is going to hurt them a little bit. It's going to make them lose a little bit of time. Right now, the good thing for David is that Kason is trying to run blocker. It's not going to work for a lot of cars, but it'll help. I think everybody, for the most part, has gone at least 1 lap down, with the exception of the top 3, maybe top 4. Top 3. The only cars that are on the lead lap. But they are not on the same strategy, and they will not be this fast. Really, I feel like the battle for the lead's going to be whoever's in 4th place, which currently is Henya. Fourth place right now is DM, but DM pitted earlier, plus they have that damage, so... I think Weebu currently sits 34th. So, not a good day by the 11 car whatsoever. So right now, Henya's all by herself in the 4th place spot. There's a bit of a gap until you get to Lumi and Kobo, the next 2. And then Simu, who just... not too long ago got by David and Kason, so there they are. Everybody inside the top 10 that is a lap down is only 1 lap down. Here comes Iron Mouse and Starlight, who both came out 13th and 14th, respectively, which still puts them inside and just outside the top 10, if you take away the top 3 at the moment. Kason took the lead away for a little bit, but David took it right back. And I think Kason's pitting, so now it's just David all by himself. So Kason is just going to run a few more laps ahead of everybody else before they pit. Don't know if David's wanting to pit or not. Paul's deep. Yeah, he's pitting. He's pitting. Okay. So that gets rid of the top two. And I think the only person left would be William, who is also pitting. So that gives up the race lead eventually to Henya. So now that strategy call evens out a little bit because it's about a 5 to 10 lap advantage for the top three, which might not be, well, it might be enough. Kason comes out just ahead. Will probably be third or fourth, depending on where they cycle out at. Also depends on where David files out at as well, which we'll keep an eye on here. Just behind Henya. Third. Oh my god, that was tight. Be about third, maybe just outside the top five. We'll go through the running order here momentarily once it cycles through officially. So currently, Henya is the race leader. Lumi is in second. DM is going to fall back with all that damage, but still sits inside the top five currently in third. Fourth place is Kason. Fifth place is Kobo. Sixth is Simu. David files out at seventh place, so regardless of a big advantage or not, still a good spot for them to file out at, with under 40 to go. Eighth place is Bimble. Ninth place is Risu. Callie in 10th. Fillion in 11th. William comes out 12th. 13th is Fruit. 14th is Fifi. 15th is Iron Mouse. 16th is Starlight. 17th is Nana. 18th is Kyoso. 19th is Dreamer. And running out the top 20 is Overdrive with Merryweather just behind them. The rest of the field on back to the leader. With Henya. And they can make it the rest of the way, so this is the run to the finish, unless a caution comes out. 3 cars, 1 lap down. Sprite's the only car 2 laps down, and Melody's the only car that's officially out of the race. Henya's looking for their first win of the season. They got a good chance, too, with a 1-second gap over Lumi, who has already won this season, and Kobo as well. We have about 35 laps to go across the line. Still about a solid second between first and second at the moment. It was a pretty good strategy by both Kason and David, don't get me wrong. They still come out just outside the top 5. They do have an opportunity to get up a couple spots. They're not out of it yet. But at the same time, too, they are mostly leveled out with the rest of the field. In terms of their tire strategy, they're more than likely they're not going to be able realistically to charge through the field as well as they did. But both of those two drivers were struggling the first half of this race. But ever since that wreck, it's been different. They did a little bit of a strategy gamble, and it has worked out to a degree. It's allowed David and Kason to lead a lot of laps, which for it to happen late in the season is very beneficial for them. Lumi has dropped the gap to about 3/4, if not less than 3/4 of a second. But the pit stops, for the most part, have concluded, with the occasional driver that's in the very back of the field just wanting to either I don't know. You may see Sprite or somebody pop out of the pits once or maybe once, but I think it'll just be somebody who's in the very back. If not, they'll probably just have a new mechanical problem, but who knows? Do keep in mind that while Lumi is catching the 30 car, about down to less than half a second, they still have to pass both Weebu in the 11 and Bao in the 26, as they are a lap down. There's also a couple other cars too that are already a lap down or on the tail end, just ahead. It's Sprite, who's already 2 laps down, and you got Bell, who's just trying to muster up it. If they can get a late race caution, Bell's going to be a contender to watch because they pitted later than everybody else, so they're going to have the fresh tires, obviously. But it's all going to depend on how quick... If they can get a caution, when can they? Less than 30 laps to go. It's going to have to be now or never. And Sprite gets out of the way. Now they're down 3. Yeah, they're down 3. This race has developed into something kind of interesting, to say the least. Lumi's going to try and get by Weebu to help close the gap between them and the 30. Right now, it's just the top 2 that are basically around each other. It's still more than 2.5 seconds back to Simu in the 3rd place position. Kason is still in 5th place after all is said and done, and David is still inside the top 10, and as well, Starlight has also creeped inside the top 10. A little more than 20 positions gained by Starlight, which is what's going to help them take away the points lead. But if Bell can get a couple extra cars behind them, that'll still be... I think it'll still be a single-digit battle for the championship between the top 2 in the points. And Bao's actually looking to pass Henya, which would actually be kind of crazy, because here comes Lumi just behind her. Another battle for the lead, side by side, almost down the backstretch. As Bao now unlaps herself, and now here comes Weebu to also do the same thing, but now to Lumi. And Bell has slowed up a little bit. The last thing they need is to lose positions. Right now, that could happen. Henya's got a lap car in front and behind her. Lumi went way up the racetrack in turn 3. That increased the gap to over a second. I do believe she did hit the wall. Because that's why she would be that slow that last time by. Well, that's allowed Henya to get a little bit more of a gap. We'll now try to put another car in between them and Lumi. Under 20, or just 20 laps to go. Third place is Simu, 4th place is Kobo, and 5th place is Kason. David's 6th. Just behind them is Bimble, Iron Mouse, and Starlight. This is a battle for the championship. Solid day by Iron Mouse. Maybe a top 10 finish if they could keep it clean. But not too far ahead of Starlight, though, so it's still going to be a challenge for them next week at Las Vegas. Right now, Henya's probably going to try and put back that 69 one lap down to make it 3 cars in between them and the second place car, Lumi. They got more than 4 seconds between them and third place, so they could work. They could work very, very conservatively here these next couple of laps. Kayson's now to third. So, while they could run conservatively, I should say, for the next couple laps, if Kayson still has fresh tires, if she didn't race them all off, which it looks like she kind of did, we might see just a 2-car battle for the win, separated by 3 lap cars that are going 3 wide with each other. About 15 laps to go. I do think this is the calm before the storm. If Lumi could get by these 3 lap cars that are ahead of her, then it'll probably be an aggressive battle between these 2 drivers that are looking to have a ride for next season. Ouch. Now, if Weebu or Bao can make a pass on Henya to get back on the lead lap, that is going to open up the door for Lumi, because that high line is not the line to run, even if you do have a good run in either the entry of the corner or the exit of the corner. Still about a half a second away between first and second. Here comes Weebu to the inside, looking to unlap herself. Now that has allowed Lumi to charge back up. Might actually take the lead away, as to the inside, there goes the 64 to the lead. Lumi won the dirt race at Springfield not too long ago for their first win of the season. My goodness, that was tight. Lumi's going to try and put a lap car, maybe 2, in between them and Henya. The role will be reversed in that case. They also got the 6 of Lucky also ahead of them that they could put and trap them in between. As again, slicey and dicey here with 11 laps to go. Chess versus checkers here between all these drivers in this picture here. Out of these 5 to 6 cars, only 2 of them battling for the win. And they have a 4.5 second gap to David, who's now sitting in third place. As for the championship, Starlight has passed Iron Mouse for 8th. And now currently sits in a spot to have a top 10, maybe top 5 finish. With less than 10 laps to go, Lumi has increased the gap to a 2nd. And as well has 3 lap cars behind. Maybe a 4th if they could get by the 6 of Lucky. Looking for their 2nd win of the season. They're going to have to make it work for 9 more laps around. They got a gap between both them and 2nd place and 3rd, so they could run a little conservatively here for the next couple laps. But the cars that are behind her want to get back on the lead lap in case a caution does come out. We have less than 10 laps to go, but at any given point a caution could come out. We might have a restart, which would be really chaotic. We had a green-white checkered last week at Indianapolis, so don't think for a second we're done wrecking. It's never too late to wreck, even on the white flag. All Lumi wants to see is the white flag. Things have started to spread out a little bit. They battle behind, which might allow Henya to close. Ooh, a little loose off the exit there by Henya. And Bao could get a run here in turn 3. Maybe they'll get... nope, never mind. I'll wait for it here to turn 1. Bao's got a run off turn 4. He's going to look to the inside. And now Henya and Lumi have been taken to the outside line by the lap cars. Coming to the line will be 5 laps to go. I mean, Henya really wanted to see Lumi on that high side. Too bad at the same time, too, they were also on that high side. 5 to go. Most of the lap traffic has been cleared for Henya. Now all of it. Prime situation here by the 11 of Weebu to put the 64 on the high side, because here comes Henya. Back for the race lead. Side by side across the line will be 4 laps to go. Meanwhile, the gap to third place has dwindled down to 3.5 seconds, but maybe, just maybe, if these two don't run so aggressively, might be too little too late for David and Kason. They battle as well, that closely behind, so there's that. 6 of Lucky about to be put 1 lap down, maybe in between the 30 and the 64. Depends on if Lumi can get underneath. They run tight ahead of these guys. Lap traffic, a big factor, because here comes Sprite back into the picture. Henya runs low. Lumi trying to run lower. They put the 6 and the 90 behind both of them. Here comes Lumi back to the inside off of 4. Inches out ahead with 2 laps to go here at Rockingham. Henya on the high side. Lucky's going to be able to get in between them if they can get a run down this backstretch. Oh, Henya crossover. Chops the nose off the 6. Won't be able to be taken to the high side, which is allowing them an opportunity to take the lead away on the last lap here at Rockingham. Henya to the inside of Lumi. Sends it deep. Maybe too deep. Contact. Both in the wall. The top 2 wreck. But they keep it straight. The gap to third's too big. Still a battle between Henya and Lumi going into turn 3. One last shot. Lumi might have a run. Down the front stretch for the final time. It's still going to be Henya who crosses the line first. Just barely. 0.04 of a second. Henya with their first win of the season. And it comes never too late. Wow. Good finish. What a finish. That race to the end seemed a whole lot closer than it really was. It was just those 2 cars for the majority of it. But then at the end of the day, David was able to close down the gap to less than a second. If they had 1 more lap, David could have probably had it there. He also leads the most amount of laps with 46, but the winner is Henya by 0.04 of a second, which is their first of the season. Lumi, second place. That close to their second win of the season. So close yet so far. David and Kason, the 2 drivers that I mentioned, could have had a shot for the win. They pitted a little too early, but they still finished 3rd and 4th, so that strategy call did help them in their run to the finish, so there's that. Starlight gets a top 5 finish out of all that, so that is the best championship, the best out of the top 5 in the championship contenders that we were talking about earlier. Kobo got 6th, Cebu got 7th, Bibble in 8th, Iron Mouse not too far behind in 9th place, a good recovery from last week at Indianapolis. Then rounding out the top 10 is the 10 car of William. Callie in 11th. Brisu in 12th place, I should say. Another championship contender is Merriweather, who finished in 13th. 14th is Dreamer, and 15th is Mizuki. And the rest of the field will scroll down on screen very slowly. Good finish by 3 out of the 5 championship contenders. Overdrive finishes in 21st, so not a good day by them. And we all saw what happened to Bell. We'll see where he finished, what they finished, I should say. We'll see that here momentarily. Soleil led 37 laps, which is the most amount that a driver has led and finished poorly in 30th. Actually, I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd most, but either way. Bell finishes in a 33rd spot, so that has drastically changed the championship tenfold, which we'll get to here momentarily. That goes all the way down to Melody in 37th position. 42 lead changes today by 18 drivers. All right. I'm letting the suspense build for a second. Remember that at the end of today's race, anybody past the 40 mark in terms of where they are behind the championship leader, they are officially eliminated from the event. They will not race for the championship. Today, we had 5 drivers battle for the championship, and there was a possibility that one of them, if not multiple of them, would be eliminated. And I'm here to tell you right now that a driver has been eliminated from the championship hunt, and now at Las Vegas, there will be 4 drivers battling for the championship. Merriweather is officially eliminated from the championship. With 41 points, he just missed the cut of a championship run. And even if they did, even if they are still got it, even if they got a chance, it'll probably just be second place by 2, maybe 3 points. It won't be, and there's no way he could win the championship. But Starlight has the championship lead by 7 points over Bell. So those two are going to be fighting hard. Dogfight for the championship. Overdrive and Iron Mouse still have a shot to win the championship, but those 2 drivers have a long shot. They have to basically have what happened today happen next week, which is very much, it's going to be hard to do. That's going to be hard to do. Let's scroll down a little bit here because as we see on screen, we got a couple extra cars that are a couple extra people that I want to talk about here, and that's the battle for this 100-point mark here. Henya, with their first win of the season, clinches up a spot, an opportunity to gain a couple spots or a couple positions and points to creep them down into the less than 100 mark. Now, I will mention this as well. I say less than 100, but if we do have a driver that is at exactly 100 points, I think that might be enough for them to clinch a spot next year. But that will have to be determined. But there are 2 drivers currently tied at 100 points. And right now, there's 13 drivers that would be able to race next season with Kyoso and Risu and Henya, basically 3 drivers that are going to be fighting for that spot. We're going to have to find out and see what happens here. It's going to be a dogfight for the championship. 2 drivers have a easy shot for the championship. 2 more drivers have a next to impossible shot at the championship. And that all takes place next week at Las Vegas. Hopefully not at this same time because, yeah, it was a bit late compared to what I really wanted to stream, which was early in the morning. But I slept. And I slept good. So, that's how we shake up for next week. I'll go more in depth about it next week in terms of what we can expect to see and all that sort of stuff. I will not be streaming tomorrow, which is Sunday. I will post out a schedule, actually, for what I do plan on doing. And we'll see if I can actually stick to a schedule. And I do plan on streaming Monday and hopefully Tuesday. We'll see. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Take care and have a good one.